This is the Barnsley Metropolitan Borough Council Income Management Discovery, and this is our first show and tell. This is our team. Myself as Delivery Manager from DXW, Marianne Briley, who's our Senior User Researcher at DXW, the team from Barnsley, Richard Kingston, Debbie Cooper and Zoe Crosby, who are all subject matter experts, and Richard's being our Product Manager, and James Smith, who's our Technical Architect from DXW. So as I said, this is our first show and tell for the Income Management System Discovery. And what I'd like to do is introduce Richard and ask him to give us a few minutes of introduction to the thing itself. Okay.
So we started this project off the back of one of the round one discovery projects that NELC were running with the GovPay product team, and that was looking to understand how take-up of the GovPay product could be improved across local government, already used quite well in central government, but they wanted to see what they could do around local government take-up. One of the findings that they had from their discovery project was that the income management processes attached to the back of accepting money through a product like GovPay, there were gaps between basically accepting money and then being able to process it in councils. Now, just at the time they were sort of coming to that conclusion, or their research was telling them that, we in Barnsley happened to develop our own income management system. We'd had the same system in Barnsley for 10 years from a big supplier, one of the big suppliers, and we reached a contract negotiation, a contract renewal, and ultimately couldn't make the contract numbers work out. So we decided to build our way out of that situation and developed our own solution. We just launched that. We blogged about that launch and how successful the product had been, with our technical team working very closely with our finance team, which was pretty much Zoe working closely with Debbie and others. And the two projects ended up connected together. So it was a sort of timely, really, the two things happened together. We then had lots of conversations about could our income management system be connected to GovPay and help bridge the gap that they found in their research, and ultimately that led to us setting up this project and making a bid to round 2 of the local digital funds to kick off this discovery. And here we are today.
Thank you very much, Richard. So we've been setting up and planning research activities. That's the main focus of our first 2 sprints, to help answer the questions that we've got about research. The first thing that we did was we did an inception workshop to identify our project goals. That was really useful, and it got lots and lots of information out to the brains of the Barnsley people, and made it explicit for us so that we could really plan the next few activities. So the sprint goal for this first sprint was to understand user needs for self-selected local authorities. We've started off with some interviews with councils, and we've also kicked off an online survey, which we've had some responses to, which have been very useful so far. And then the next step is the analysis and synthesis. So we've been able to do that with our first interview, and we've just completed another interview, so that's to be done. So Marianne's going to talk a little bit more about the research.
Thanks. So after that inception workshop, it really helped us identify what are our core research questions. So the first one being around the appetite for a Barnsley income management system. So that relates to questions around how do other local authorities currently handle their income management, what are the similarities and differences to what Barnsley do, and identifying those key user requirements for the system, any barriers to adopting something created by Barnsley, what needs to be added or changed to make it viable or practical for others to use, what are the sort of competition out there, what else in the marketplace, how people contracted to things, other technology it might need to integrate with that we need to be aware of, and how many other local authorities in the UK might actually be interested in an alternative income management system. So that's all related to that first research question. The second one is about how might a user-centered solution designed by councils for councils be shared, delivered and maintained over time. This is something we'll probably be able to answer a bit later on in the project, but it's getting some information around the sentiment or any concerns or worries people have around something designed by another council versus a big technology supplier, what the shape of the market might be for that kind of solution, how it should be delivered, governed and managed, and a benefits case for the solution for other people so that others can use it outside of just Barnsley. So to start us off, we asked Barnsley to explain the income management system to us. So they sent us a very helpful Word document, which then we translated into this Miro board, and it's basically split into 4 key sections. So the first one over the yellow side on the left is about taking payments, and you've got the blue section about managing accounts. The pink section about all these different configurable options, so that could be VAT codes, fund groups, payment methods, things like that. And then we've just got other stuff, which is the green stuff on the right, and that's things like the import or export formats, help content and reports, things like that. And that process really helped give us and DXW a good grounding on this, and it helped us create our online survey as well, which was great, and helped us plan all of these research activities. And it also enabled us to have a conversation about the IMS, so you can see all these yellow speech bubbles everywhere. That was us asking questions just to clarify things, so it was a really useful exercise to go through. So once we had all of that set up, we had an idea of what questions we wanted to ask. We had to set about trying to recruit people. And to be perfectly honest, it has been quite challenging so far. We had people who had already self-selected who were partners in this project. I think because of the time of year and there's a lot of pressures in going to lots of meetings before people are off on holiday, it is quite hard to find time with them. And then we wanted to reach out to other local authorities who may not have been aware of the project, and that, as you can imagine, is perhaps even harder, because you have to explain what the project is about. So it's quite difficult, and we know that local authorities also need a longer notice period to join in. So even though we tried to give a couple of weeks' notice, we've tried to rearrange sessions so that more people can join, it's quite hard to get people to commit their time. The survey is helping us a little bit with that, so if people really can't give us their time for a research session, which might take a couple of hours, we're asking them to complete this survey, which is more like 10 to 15 minutes. And that at least gives us an outline of what they currently use, what they need from the system, and any concerns they might have around using something new. Things we're doing to try and mitigate these risks around recruitment. Rich is doing a lot on leading with communications, because it's coming from Barnsley, but that comes across a lot better rather than an outside organisation like DXW. And so it's helpful if people have any concerns around the project, that Richard can sort of respond to those. So that's working quite well. So we're going to continue with that and try and get more sessions booked in before Christmas and in the new year. So we've managed to do 2 sessions so far. So as Sharon said, we did one of those yesterday, so we haven't quite gone through the analysis of that so far, but we will do soon. And we had one complete last week, and this is a range of some are remote, and the one yesterday was on site. So the interviews run with 3 main sections. So it starts off understanding their current income management system, providing it, what their likes and dislikes are of those systems. Then we look at the user needs and processes for a new income management system, or main processes that are really important to them, and any issues they might have had around configuring things, or things they have to have workarounds for that we can be aware of. And then we wrap up trying to understand their attitudes and considerations towards an income management system that might be produced by Barnsley. And that gives us some awareness of what we need to be thinking about if we have to share this further. So when it comes to analysis, we've been using something called switching forces. And this is a really good framework for understanding what are the things that might push someone over to the right to a new service and what might pull them back to their old solution. So we've done this for the first interview. Things that came out in the push and pull were things like they don't trust the system because they have regular faults, they have to have manual workarounds, which takes a lot of time. Poor customer service and response, so they might report a fault and just not know if anyone's working on it because they get no response from that. High cost for upgrades, and these can sometimes take quite a long time to even complete. We've had someone waiting 2 years for one of their upgrades to be finished. And sometimes things aren't compatible with the formats that they need, so that's just more workarounds they have to do. In terms of pulls, that's some of the benefits you might get from a new solution. There's some interest in fully hosted systems that takes away some of the risks and responsibilities of the council itself. Possible integrations with gov.uk Pay, we are seeing a bit of interest in this. In the survey as well, we're seeing that being quite interesting to people. And then the features and functionality, because this particular person had already seen a demo, they thought that the features and functionality of the Barnsley system actually matches what they need. So that's a really important one, that to pull someone to a new service, it needs to do the job that people need it to do. So that's what we're trying to understand. And then things that might hold them back, so anxieties, again, support is coming out around needing someone to be responsive and knowing that someone will actually act on it so that things don't go down and pause things happening. Knowing that it's actually going to work. with the different feeder systems that they have, and reassurance that we do a good job. And then things that might hold them back from making some changes, so this is called inertia. So that's existing habits or things like costs. So there might be costs of leaving or switching, which could be prohibitive. Sometimes there can be slightly long-winded decision-making processes in that it has to go through several stakeholders that assess it from different angles for it to go through. Or there might just be unrelated, unplanned things like other systems costing more money than budgeted, which means you have less money to spend on something you have planned for. So we'll be going through this exercise for all of our user interviews because I think it is valuable. We haven't done this one that took place yesterday, but we have heard that although there were a lot of differences in terms of their context, actually some similarities came up around expectations for being responsive, having something that's really configurable to what you need, and having trusted support for a new service. And when it comes to trust in the service, it really comes down to having quite a high accuracy of things going right, so successful allocations, for example. So we're seeing trust and support really coming out already just into interviews. That's something we'll probably look into a bit further, the other ones. Right, so the other thing we set up in the background that we're checking into now and again, and we'd really like some help with sharing further, is this online survey. So again, this is set into 3 parts, just like the user interviews are, but they collect much more detailed information about what specific things people need from an income management system. The first part, again, is about what they currently have, what they like and dislike about it, and how likely they might be to switch. The second part is all around specific things they need from it, so it might be what they use it for, what inputs and outputs they need. And then the final section is around expectations for a new service, particularly if it's produced by another council, and any worries they might have around that. So we've only had 5 people complete it. 2 of those people are in the first section. So even that was quite interesting to see that section completed, but it would be great if people could share this more widely with people they know and really encourage them to do it. It should only take about 10 to 15 minutes and it'd be really useful to have that data. At the minute, because there's just 5 responses, we can't really come to any conclusions, but we are looking into it regularly and looking at some of the sentiment around things that are important. So that GovPay thing is coming out already. That's one example.
Thank you. So what's next? We've got a day full of ceremonies today, so we're going to be looking at what's happened so far and thinking about what we can improve for the next sprint. So that's this afternoon and some further planning. And then tomorrow we've got a workshop in Leeds with 2 or 3 councils taking part. We hope we're going to have at least 2. If not, we're going to go ahead anyway, because given the difficulties, we don't want to cancel anything at this point. We also have another workshop set up in Huntingdonshire, and we hope that there's going to be 3 or 4 councils taking part in that. So that will be excellent. We will set up some more interviews with stakeholders before Christmas, which is not very far away, and that's in ideally in London. And we want to pick up on some of the XW's contacts, for example, happening in Recruitment, people like that. Would be great to bring those along, and also speak to the people, the stakeholders from UK. We're planning research sessions in January, but we expect the focus of that to be slightly different. We've got some desk research to do, and our invisible team member James, who is not sat in that chair there, but we'll be watching this later, will be doing that for us. We also, on that subject, we're a small team. We're not all working on this full time, so actually turning around all things like the research and the analysis is tricky, so we're all making sure that we're available whenever we can to do those and to turn those around for the next sprint. So other things that we want to do, we want to identify our riskiest assumptions, just make sure that we validate those. We're going to look into, particularly the interest of the support service, what would be required to set up a support service, which DSW have quite a lot of experience with that kind of thing, so that would be really helpful. And thinking about what would be required to roll out the IMS product. So we have sprint which starts today, sprint 2, and then we have a final sprint in January. As I say, the focus will change slightly, and then we're going to do a final show and tell towards the end of January when all of our colleagues are available, given that Debbie's got quite a long, lovely holiday booked. So we want to make sure that we include Debbie. She's core to the team. And our next show and tell will be on the 19th of December. We've made the sprint slightly shorter for obvious reasons, partly because Debbie's going on holiday on the 20th, but quite a lot of people will be off during that first week of Christmas. So we've brought that forward slightly. And then in January, we're going to be working on we're going to be doing planning on the 6th of January, and then working on that. So if you would like to be involved with anything, please contact us. If you've got any further questions, please contact us. I want to make sure that we answer everybody's questions. So it may be that you were looking at that lovely Miro board and wanting to see the detail. If you'd like to see anything like that, please let us know. And if that's possible, then we'll do that. Have I got any other notes? Well, the other thing that we're doing is we're helping the team to build capability. They're already working in an agile way. They wanted to gain some skills with working in a user-centered way. Already, the things that are coming across is sharing the tools and things like that has been quite helpful. What I want to do is set up conversations with everybody individually so that we can start to find out, where you are now, what you'd like to do in the future. I'm going to catch up with you quite quickly, given you're going away. Maybe give you some homework to go at. Perhaps not. And if you've got any ideas for other people who we can interview or send a survey to, please do that. We'll share all that information if you can share that across the network.